The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
All these voices. All these voices. All these things you can't explain. All these painful memories. They keep haunting you and daunting me. It's just the ghost of you and me. It's just the smoke and gasoline. It's just the ghost of you and me. Of you and me.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Staring into the Abyss. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and with me as always my co-host, old boy James Ash. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. How is everybody tonight?
2020 was a hell of a year. And if this first month is any indication, it looks like 2021 is going to be even worse. So I thought that for tonight's show, it might be fun to look at one of the world's most well-known and famous predictors and see what he thought. So I found an article in the New York Post about Nostradamus, and it's about his predictions for 2021. So I thought this would be a fun thing to kind of look at and discuss a little bit. So as I said, this article comes from the New York Post, and the headline is Nostradamus Prediction for 2021. Asteroids, Zombies, and a Bad Outlook. It was written by Lauren Stussy, and it was published December 28, 2020. And you thought it couldn't get any worse. World-ending asteroids, zombies, and ruinous famine are on deck for 2021, according to French philosopher Nostradamus, whose track record for predicting the future has been freakishly accurate. Nostradamus, who died in 1566, has famously prophesied calamitous events through his Les Prophéties, a collection of poetic quatrains. The Renaissance-era seer alluded to such events as the French Revolution, the development of the atomic bomb, and September 11th terrorist attacks. Now, close readers of his work say he foresaw a 2021 even more destructive than this hellscape of a year. In his writings, he mentions few young people half dead to give a start. This can only mean one thing, according to Yearly Horoscope: a zombie apocalypse. Fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows, women in mourning, the pestilent she-monster, the great one to be no more, all the world to end, the philosopher went on ominously. Nostradamus also appears to allude to the coronavirus pandemic of 2020, but writes that the following year will be even more destructive, perhaps bringing famine to the world. Already, the pandemic has resulted in millions of Americans heading to food banks for the first time, and the UN has warned that food insecurity will be an even bigger problem in 2021. After great trouble for humanity, a greater one is prepared, Nostradamus wrote. The great mover renews the ages. Rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague is the heavens' fire scene. A long spark running. Next up, an asteroid. In the sky, one sees fire and a long trail of sparks. Already we've had a few close calls. On Christmas Day, a huge asteroid zipped right past Earth. In November, a pickup-sized asteroid squeaked by our planet about 250 miles over the southern Pacific on Friday the 13th. However, historians often point out that Nostradamus' writings are incredibly vague, or even downright non-existent. So take heart. Things could actually get better next year. And that is the end of this article. Now, there's a couple things in this article that are kind of interesting to me. The first I want to talk about is the idea of food shortages. Because as it said in the article, the UN said that food insecurity was going to be a major issue in 2021. We've also had several other world organizations like that have talked about famine coming and food shortages. that are going to be coming. Now, I've often said that there is no real security without food security. In other words, if you cannot grow and produce your own food, then you're never really secure and you're never really free, because you're always going to be able to be taken over if you get hungry enough. So that is a very important thing. And unfortunately, not a lot of people in this day know how to produce their own food anymore. I mean, down here where I live in the mountains, I'm down in the south, I'm out in the country, and a lot of us still have gardens. I have an orchard in my house, and I have a garden that I grow every year. And so I can produce food. We also have a lot of animals that we can hunt, and there's a lot of fish in the different lakes and the different ponds and streams and stuff like that that we can catch. So we're pretty set as far as food goes here. But what I worry about is in the cities. Because in the cities, a lot of these people, they don't have gardens. They don't have any way to produce food for themselves. They can only eat what they can go to the store and pick up. And if there's nothing on the shelves, those people are going hungry. And I guarantee you they won't go hungry for long, because they will go looking for food. And if you have it, they will take it. So you have to be able to defend it. So that's a whole nother issue. But the sad thing is, a lot of those people don't even know how to grow food. So even if they had the space for a garden, they don't know how to properly do it. And that, to me, is a problem. You know, I'm a guy that I know how to can, I know how to produce my own food, I know how to hunt, I know how to fish, I know how to trap, and I can make jellies and jams and apple butter and all those kind of things. I like the old way of doing things. I like learning those old skills. I have a lot of primitive skills to where I can survive without anything. I'm a big guy into survival. I really like survival. I really like the primitive way of doing things. And I have taught myself a lot of those skills in my life. But not a lot of people have those skills. And that is going to be an issue if we ever have severe food shortages. Now, the sad thing about that is that it isn't necessary. There's no reason why we should have food shortages. We have farmers that are being paid not to grow food. We have food every year that sits in silos and rots because of different dumb trade deals to where the farmers can't sell the food to other countries. We produce plenty. Now let's say for some reason that we have a crop failure or something and there isn't enough food being produced. There are things that we can do that we can still feed the entire world if necessary. One source of protein that is often overlooked is insects. Pound for pound, there is more protein in a lot of different kinds of insects than there is in beef. In a lot of the world, insects are part of their normal diet. I know in a lot of countries you can go to their little markets and street fairs and stuff, and you can find table after table of different beetles and crickets and all kinds of stuff like that that you can buy to eat. I think in the future, I don't think we're at that point yet, but I think in the future, there's going to be a lot more eating of insects in order to keep everybody alive. Because as our population grows, there's only so much land to grow food on. And the more people we have to have a place for all those people. So there's going to be less land available to farm. So you're going to have to turn to things like insects in order to feed everybody. Now, you might be listening to me right now and thinking, ugh, that's nasty, dude. I'm not eating a bug. Dude, I get it. Trust me. I've eaten my share of bugs in my life. As I said, I'm a guy that's into survival. I like going out in the woods and stuff, and you eat that kind of stuff when you're out surviving sometimes. But I've also traveled the world, and I've eaten a lot of bugs in different places, and they weren't bad. But the good news is you don't necessarily have to eat a bug whole, like a bug. They're taking like crickets, and they are grinding them up and making flour out of them, and they're making bread and stuff like that that you couldn't even tell was made out of crickets. It doesn't taste bad. There's all kinds of stuff like that that can be done that can disguise the source of the protein, if that makes sense, to where it's more like food you're used to eating and you're not eating a crunchy, gross bug. But I think that's something that eventually mankind is going to be turning to. But I thought that was interesting that the article talked about food shortages, and that was one of the things that Nostradamus had predicted. And you have a lot of places that are talking about that today, that is going to be an issue coming up. So that was the first point I wanted to talk about. The second point I wanted to talk about quickly was the asteroid thing. Nostradamus is predicting that an asteroid will hit and it will wreak havoc and cause all kinds of terrible things. The Earth has been hit by asteroids multiple times in the past. The most notable one is the asteroid that took out the dinosaurs, at least according to science, if you subscribe to that theory. We've also had asteroids have hit that have made a lot of the big craters and stuff on the planet. The moon itself is covered in craters from asteroids hitting it. So it's not something that is unheard of and not something that is extraordinarily rare. Okay, it happens quite a bit actually. Usually when something hits us, it's not that large. When you're talking about something that could be an extinction level event, you're talking about a fairly large asteroid. Not super big, but bigger than the normal little meteorite kind of rocks that end up hitting the Earth. But it is possible. Now, the scary thing is that there's like less than either 1% or 10%. I don't remember the exact number, but it's a very, very low percentage. I think it's 1% of the sky is actually monitored. You have a few scientists that are watching for asteroids, and they're not even watching the entire sky. This is not a huge priority for mankind. So it's not that we're going to see something coming and be like, oh man, what are we going to do? This thing's going to hit us. Most likely, the asteroid that takes us out will be one we don't even know is coming because nobody saw it, because nobody's looking. There's only a few people that are looking, and they're barely monitoring any of the sky. So there's a huge amount of space that nobody's looking at, that we don't even know what's coming. That's the scary thing. So if Nostradamus is correct on this, and if an asteroid does hit us, we just have to hope that it's not a big one. It's something tiny that is manageable. That'd be great. Now, if a big asteroid hits us, the problem is when it hits, the impact sends a ton of dust up into the atmosphere. That dust stays in the atmosphere for an extended period of time, blocks out a bunch of the sun, brings on what they would call like a nuclear winter, and a lot of the plant life dies. When the plant life dies, the things that eat the plants die. And when the things that eat the plants die, the things that eat the things that eat the plants die. So that's how you end up having mass extinctions because of asteroids. It's not like the asteroid hits and blows up and kills everybody. It's a slow process of starving to death, which would really, really suck. So that's what we have to look forward to possibly in 2021. I can't tell you it's not going to happen because, like I said, we're barely looking at any of the sky. We're not watching for these things that well. So literally any second of any day, it could happen. And we could have absolutely no idea that it's even coming. That's how serious of an issue that is. I don't understand why nobody's paying attention to this. To me, in my mind, this should be a priority. We should be like, hey, let's get a whole team of people on this. And let's make sure that we are watching 100% of space. So we know for sure if something's coming or not. But I'm telling you, we're just not doing that. It's not even close. I'm pretty sure it's like 1% of the sky. But I may be wrong, it may be 10%, but it's one of those two numbers. And either way, that's nowhere near enough. And we're almost guaranteed to be blindsided by an asteroid at some point in our history. Now, if one is coming, the question is, what the hell do you do about it? Now, we've all seen the movies where they fly to the asteroid and they put nuclear bombs in it to blow it up or to kind of steer it or something. First of all, blowing it up will not work. That's actually worse. Because if you blow up the asteroid, what you're going to end up with is a bunch of different asteroid fragments. Now, some of those fragments will burn up on re-entry into the Earth. But there will be some that don't burn up that are too large. And instead of having one large impact, you're going to have 10 large impacts from different large fragments that hit the Earth. And that's going to be way worse. So blowing it up is not an option. The only other option would be to try to use like nuclear bombs or something as a form of thrust, like a rocket engine or something, to where we can placed them strategically on the asteroid, on the outside of it, in order to create thrust to move the asteroid a little bit. Now, we're not going to steer it a lot, but if you catch it early enough, just a small little move over to one side or the other could change the entire trajectory that thing is traveling, and it could end up missing us instead of hitting us. So that would, I think, would be the plan that would have to be attempted. Now, is it possible? Well, NASA has been able to land on a moving object. They've already done it. So yes, it's possible to find it, and yes, it's possible to land on it. Can we actually move it? That's all theoretical. It's never been done. So I don't know if we could actually pull it off or not. But it would probably be our only option. At the very least, we would have time, if we catch it early enough, to move enough people underground and have enough supplies down there to last until the atmosphere cleared. So the human race would survive. The only problem is a whole bunch of people would end up dead. But in the grand scheme of things, it's better than everybody ended up dead, I guess. Probably not for the people that aren't underground, though. The people that are stuck on the Earth and not underground would not agree with the assessment that it's better. But those are the two main things. The other thing they talked about in this article was a zombie apocalypse. I believe at some point there will be a zombie apocalypse. I know that sounds crazy, but it talks about in the Bible that the dead are raised from the graves and they wander around the earth for a little while before they're taken up. So biblically, we have a zombie apocalypse at some point. If you look at different diseases, it is highly possible that a disease will develop that will cause the symptoms of a zombie. Okay, will it be a dead person that comes back to life? Probably not. But if you look at a disease like rabies, you've already got the madness, you've already got the urge to bite, okay? You've already got the fear of water that goes along with rabies because it constricts the throat and it makes it almost impossible to swallow. That's what the foaming of the mouth is about. So people with rabies are kind of afraid of water. They don't want to drink because they'll choke to death. Zombies are afraid of water. That's why I brought that up. So you already have a disease that is kind of like a zombie apocalypse already in rabies. Rabies spreads through a bite. Now, you're not going to spread it fast enough or enough of it through a bite in order to cause a zombie apocalypse. But think about if rabies were to mutate and become airborne. Now it's a whole different scenario. Because if you could catch rabies like you catch the flu or a cold, imagine how many cases of rabies there would be. So then you've got, instead of a handful of people, you've got hundreds of thousands of people running around crazy as hell, biting everybody, foaming at the mouth, nuts. I think that is what is going to be a zombie apocalypse. That's what's going to resemble it, is some disease, probably rabies, but it could be some other disease that comes along later. But as far as the diseases that we have now, rabies most closely fits the idea of a zombie. But I think that's entirely possible, and I think that it's just a matter of time before it happens, honestly. Will it happen in our lifetime? Probably not, but who knows? I mean, you got all these governments that are experimenting with different diseases. They're making diseases in labs, and they're taking diseases that we have now and making them way worse in labs to use them as bioweapons and stuff. It's absolutely insane what these people are doing. So it's only a matter of time before that happens, and something is either released on purpose or gets out on accident that causes something like that to happen. Now, there are some current events that would coincide with that, but I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to end up getting banned from YouTube and all that stuff. But I think everybody understands what I'm saying. So that is what Nostradamus predicted for 2021, and we will just have to wait and see what happens. But I think it's kind of funny that every single thing that he said that he's predicting for 2021, when we examine each one of them, all three are possible. And all three are actually probable. But the only question is, will they happen this year? Or will they happen sometime in the future? I think it's almost a guarantee they will happen sometime in the future. But will it happen this year? Who knows? I guess we'll see. But anyway, that's the article. And I'm going to throw over to Old Boy now and get his opinion on it. So, Old Boy, go ahead, brother.
Thank you, buddy. Nostradamus has, like, the September 11th and what was it, the French Revolution War and a couple other things he said happened in Germany fall. I've heard about him since I was a kid. I saw this documentary. They made it all scary. But he's been wrong. He said the world was going to end anyway around this time, and it didn't. And other times he's been wrong. Do I believe an asteroid's going to hit the Earth? It could happen. It could happen tomorrow. And they do. It's about 5 to 10% they do watch it. Plus NASA watches it. But the reason they should watch it a lot more. But the chances of an asteroid hitting us could happen at any time. There's nothing you can do about that, dude. There's nothing. Unless, we see it. We could try to do a couple things, I also believe we have other things that we don't talk about. We're more higher technology than what we portray to be. I think they have other things to do it, sonic waves or something. I think we've already done it. We just don't talk about it. But if it does, I don't believe it will hit. Unless we're really not paying attention, we're going to get knocked one day. That's going to happen. It's already happened. We've been hit by asteroids a couple times, a lot of times, little ones, big ones. That's going to happen. Zombies, no, not like you think. Not like they're going to go around eating people. And, Dawn of the Dead crap. 28 days later, yeah, like a form of rabies, I do believe that. Not this year, but I believe it's going to happen one day. Where they're going to go around and you just make you go crazy and you beat the crap out of each other, kill each other, pretty much like the Crazies. I don't know if you guys ever seen that movie. I do believe that could be a really possibility. I believe that Phantom and stuff is already happening. We're having that issue now with what's going on with the virus we're dealing with. People are not working. We got to be careful on some of the stuff we're doing. When you're working out in the farmers and stuff, they can't do it because they got to watch about passing along the coronavirus. That's just happening. The whole zombie thing is going to happen one way or another. I think they're already testing that in labs. I think that's going to be something happens down the line. It's not going to be, like I said, eating people, cannibalism. It's going to be kill each other, murder each other, kind of like 28 days later. You guys ever seen that? 28 weeks later? I believe it's going to be like that, kind of a disease. And that doesn't even have to be rabies. It could be switched over through animals and stuff like that. And that would be the easiest way to do it instead of just doing it by, airborne. Because the airborne, it's uncontrollable. If it's controlled by people who want to do this, they're going to do it another way. Because even they can be turned. It'll be another mistake we do, and you're going to have stuff like that happen. I'm not going to argue with that. I believe it will happen one day. I believe that a lot of some of the stuff at Nostradamus, I do believe. I believe he was right. I think he kind of overdid it. I think that was more to sell stuff back in there because I think he was working for the king or something. Or the church didn't like him after a while because he was making these books about predictions and stuff like that. But he said some stuff that has happened, and it's true. Do I believe all of it? No. Do I believe the world's going to end? We're going to have a bad year? Probably. Maybe we won't. Let's hope. I really don't want to be the doom and gloom for 2021. It's already started off not that good as it is, so I don't think we need to doom anybody else from what's going on already for the last, a lot of people are having a hell of a last year or two. 2020 was, and the ending of 2019 was any better. Probably last year and a half, 2 years has sucked for a lot of people, majority of people, and especially this 2020. But a lot of people, 2021 is going to be better. I don't think it is. I don't want to ruin anybody's Christmas, or I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's going to be some more stuff happening, but it sucks. I hope this doesn't happen. I think everybody's tired of dealing with stuff already. So any more gloom and doom, I don't really want to do that to people because I think people are just tired of this. But you know what? They've been talking about this for a long time, guys, for hundreds of years, that one day this stuff was going to happen, and it is. I think people need to start waking up. Some of this stuff is real, and it's really happening. And now the whole zombie thing, I don't know if that's going to happen this year. And whatever else, the asteroid hitting, and I don't think it will happen. It could. I'm not going to sit here and say it's not going to. I don't believe it's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen, because it's just not going to be. We're pretty much screwed if that happens. So we're pretty much really screwed. It's hard to think about this, guys, if this would happen. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, we've already had enough stuff, bad outlooks and predictions for 2020. I've already heard enough for 2020. 2000 altogether was supposed to be bad. 2015 was supposed to be the end of the world. 20 was supposed to be the end of the world. It's not. Maybe this is just going to be an ongoing thing, that things are just going to get worse. And maybe that's what the prediction was for 2020. Because remember, Nostradamus said there was a lot of things that were going to happen, and they did. A lot of bad things did happen in 2000. Phantom, that's already happening. We already have diseases, especially this that's going around for the last over a year. People are starving because they're either losing their jobs or not getting stuff made because we had to close everything up. Stuff like that's happening. Now, an actual zombie where they're walking around eating each other or stuff, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that, like I said, the closest you're going to get is what I was talking about earlier, 28 days later, 12 monkey kind of thing. Like is this disease made or mutated? And it'll make people go out of their mind, like the crazy movies, and they might kill you or something and bite you and try to kill, and you might get it from getting bit. So you'll just change and do some crazy stuff and go and do till we all destroy each other, and that's how we're going to die. Or asteroid's going to hit and just blow up. Even if it hits, it's going to be bad because of all the dust and the nuclear winter he's talking about. All the crops die and everything on the ground is going to be horrible. I don't think everybody in the world will die, but probably about 80-90% of them will. And then there's predictions of earthquakes. It's going to make big giant typhoons and stuff like that. There's another one he was talking about, and the fall of the government and stuff like it's just. It could happen. All this could happen at any time. It doesn't have to be today, tomorrow. An asteroid could come and slam into us and we're done. Or we're pretty messed up for a while. A mutated, one of these labs makes some kind of mutated disease, and it mutates and turns us into some kind of killing, crazed monster kind of zombie thing. And we start turning that could happen, but it's I don't see it happening this year. Asteroids probably more likely to hit than having zombies. That's just my opinion. It could happen. I do agree with James. That's probable. With the diseases and other stuff, that's probably going to happen more than that's already happening. So that's already been predicted. So he's not lying about that. Phantom is happening. People are still starving. That we're going through droughts and stuff like that. So that's already happening. So that's already pretty much given. But the other stuff, I don't know, man. I don't know if we're going to get hit by an asteroid. I mean, it's not impossible. Anybody could say we're going to get hit by an asteroid, and it's not going to be impossible. The zombie thing, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. The Phantom and bad things happen. I think that might be true. 21 still already having dumb stuff happening, and not as bad as 2020, but it's not starting off good. So I'm sorry if we're ruining any of you guys' plans for 2020, because I know you guys have had a rough year. I've had a rough year since 2019. I think we've all kind of The last 2 years haven't been the best. Everybody's gone through something. And another reason I'm saying I've had I had a friend that passed away from the disease. So it's kind of sad, very sad actually. And have a couple people I've lost. So that's on top of that of other stuff, which, people losing their jobs. It's sad to see, and people losing their family members, and just a lot of other things going on political, and we just don't talk about it because we don't want our page, froze. So we're just leaving it at that. Just a lot of things are going on. And hopefully this isn't going to be another treat for 2021. Asteroids or any of it really. Zombies, phantom disease. I don't think people can take any more of this. But you know what? Life isn't fair, and that's what people need to realize. Think about it. Think about it this way. I'm going to show you an example. Earth is a rock, right? You hold the rock up in the middle of the air, like you would in space, like get a little rock, decent size, about like a quarter or a little bit silver dollar, and look at that. Put it up in the air and think about that's Earth. And look how, if you look it up in the air, like you have it in your fingers, all the space around you. And that's just magnetize that as being Earth. Well, take a giant boulder that could be as big as the Earth or half the size of Earth hitting Earth, and what that would look like. That's what every day if you think about it, living is a challenge, because any time, any minute, any second, you can die. I'm talking about all together. We can have an asteroid hit us and we're done. We can have a typhoon swallow us up and we're done. We can get shot. We can get hit by a car. A house can fall on us. Plane crash. Die of a heart attack. Die from disease. Get a bacteria infection. Die. Fall off something. People don't realize it. And I think people don't get it, that life is very precious, and some people don't care, and they don't pay attention to it. And you should be grateful to even survive, because it is hard to live in the world, especially with everything that's going on, and every day is a challenge. Every day you get up is a day you might not come back. You don't know what's going to happen. And that's just with regular life. We can get destroyed anytime, guys. That's how easy it is. Asteroid can not even go by us, and something like it hit another asteroid, say in space, it hits something else or something knocks it off. It can spin into us, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's what people don't get. I don't think they realize how close we are being destroyed altogether. And that could destroy us all. A volcano can erupt, one of the big ones, and destroy us. The world we can have I live by the San Jose Andreas Fault. That thing breaks, most of California is gone. Parts of Arizona and Nevada. There's volcanoes all over this. They call it the Ring of Fire through Washington all the way to Canada to California. I think even to Mexico. I don't know how far it goes. I know it goes through Oregon too. They erupt. We're done. It's not it's because what they shoot up in the air, it shoots all this black smoke, and it will cover the whole United States and even probably all over the world. It's more than you think. It wouldn't kill us all, but a lot of people are going to be gone. A lot of animals, a lot of nature, a lot of bees, everything. And these animals have a reason, and they keep our ecosystem going. Bees is one of the biggest things. I think there's a bunch of animals, if they don't feed, other things get so out of control, and it's just a basic knowledge of this. And I don't think people really get it. I think people are so used to, they forgot what really matters. And TV, phones, computers, video games, themselves, money is all more important, but I don't think they really realize and stop and think that That's nothing anymore. I mean, it doesn't matter. This stuff can happen at any time. I don't think you should worry about it like every day. Oh, shoot, we're going to get hit by an asteroid, but it could happen. But I don't want to freak people out and they think that, you know, they'll worry about it every day, but it should be in the back of your mind that it could happen. I'm not sitting here saying, lose sleep over it because I don't want you guys to do it, but this stuff could happen. I'm not going to say it's impossible. I would have never thought some of the stuff that's going on now was possible, and it is. So I can't say that I would be surprised. So Nostradamus has always been pretty interesting to me. Since I was a kid, I watched his shows, read his books, always followed some of the stuff. He talked a lot of stuff that happened, and it has. Some of the stuff he said did happen. It was always an interesting guy. Back then, a lot of people didn't like that. The church, he had to hide that. Because I think he was Jewish, and he had I think he was working for the Catholic Church. I watched a couple of documentaries about him. Very interesting. Because I'm into time travel and predicting stuff, so I've always been kind of into that stuff. So when I first heard about Nostradamus, I was a kid, so I remember I was like maybe 9 or 10 at the time, and I watched the thing, and it scared me because back then I was like, oh, all this stuff's gonna happen. We're gonna all die. I'm not gonna make it. It was like 1994, 3. No, it was like 2 or something like that. It was before I was in high school. I think it was like 91 or something. I was probably 10, and I saw 10, 11, and I saw this stuff, and it scared me. I was like scared to go to sleep. Like I thought the world was gonna end, and 2020 we were gonna live. 2016 something was happening, and it said after the 2020s, it says Nostradamus didn't say we were gonna live too long after that. Maybe 2027, 2030, and that was going to be the end of it. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to be 40, 50 then, and it used to scare me when I was a kid. When you're young, you start getting your imagination starts going, and hey, this might actually happen. So I remember watching that, and I was kind of scared that night to go to sleep because it was tripping me out. Being that young, and you thinking, oh man, we're gonna all die. That's why I thought it was funny we doing the show, because I remember that. That's how I remember Nostradamus, because I watched that. I think it was like an hour episode. It was back in the day when they were that's where I got into Bigfoot and stuff. So I watched it one day, and all this stuff saying that we were gonna die and all this stuff before, after 2020, and all this crazy stuff was going to happen. So I've already heard about this stuff. Yeah, I don't think it's going to, but it's not impossible. If you guys ever want to look some of the predictions he talks about, then you guys will see what we're talking about. But you guys have any questions, leave us in the comments and we'll get to you guys. There you go, James.
If you really think about it, it is kind of insane. The way we all just walk around every day with this illusion of safety. I mean, because break it down and think about this. We are living on a rock that is spinning around very, very fast. And it is hurtling through space at hundreds of thousands of miles an hour around a giant ball of fire and magma and just this horrendous stuff that the sun is made of. So hot you can't even imagine. Just melt your face right off. And we're just kind of cruising around this thing over and over and over again, just hurtling through space. At the same time, you have all kinds of other planets that are doing the same thing. And then you have asteroids, and you have comets, and you have all kinds of stuff like that that's just flying through our solar system all the time. So it's like a giant game of bumper cars. Now, what saves our bacon is Jupiter, honestly. Jupiter takes a lot of hits that we would take if they weren't there. Jupiter is so large, and it blocks so many asteroids and comets from hitting us, simply because it's in the way. It's like our blocker. But think about that. we're just little tiny insignificant things flying through space on this rock with all kinds of other rocks that are just flying all around us at all times. And then you add to that all the things that could go wrong here on this planet. Look at all the times in the history of our planet that there has been outbreaks of serious diseases like the plague that take out a huge percentage of the population. The way we live now in relative freedom and safety is the exception, not the rule. Throughout the majority of human history, it has been filled with war, disease, death, slavery. That's been the majority of the human existence. What we are experiencing now, well, not right now, because right now really sucks, but like 5 years ago, what we were experiencing in America, this calm, this peace, this safety, this technological wonderland where we don't have to grow our own food. We can go to McDonald's or something to get something to eat. If we get sick, we can just go to the hospital and they'll take care of it. Where you can just waste your money on dumb stuff because you've got so much of it. And you don't have to worry about things that throughout existence mankind had to worry about. I mean, consider that for the majority of the human existence, your most pressing matter every day was trying to figure out how you were going to feed yourself and trying to keep someone else or something else from killing you. We haven't had to worry about that. And as I said, that is the exception, not the rule. So now you take a soft people, right? Because that's what we have become in this world. We are spoiled by technology. We are spoiled by the relative safety in which we live. We are not tough, hard people the way our grandparents' generation were tough, hard people. They got through the Great Depression. They got through World War I and II. They were tough. Those couple generations and before that, where they had to live off the land and grow their own food and survive when they didn't have all the technology we have today. We are much softer than they were. If you introduce real troubles to a soft people like that, you're going to have a lot of problems. We are not built to survive anymore. You have a few of us that still have those skill sets, but the overwhelming majority of people do not. And to me, it's kind of a crazy thing to think of that we walk around every day and live our lives without a care in the world, really. I mean, yeah, there's things that we worry about that are trivial that really don't matter. I mean, look at some of the things that we argue about here in America that are just dumb. And you got people that are going crazy over it, that are really, really upset and screaming at each other and all this stuff over dumb stuff that doesn't really mean anything in the long term. Now, I'm not talking about major issues. I'm talking about some of the little trivial crap that people get offended over, which is stupid. That just shows you how easy we have it. That we waste our energy and our time arguing about dumb stuff that doesn't matter because we don't have to worry about feeding ourselves. We don't have to worry about somebody coming into our village and killing everybody. Because that kind of stuff just doesn't happen anymore to us. And to me, it's just crazy to think about that we live our life with this illusion of safety, when in reality, there's millions of things that could go wrong that could just end everybody. And it is all stuff that has happened before, and it is all stuff that absolutely could happen. Now, do I believe that mankind is going to go extinct? No. But that's because I'm a Christian. I believe in the Bible. I believe that there will be a rapture and the believers will be taken up. And then the people that are left behind here on earth will go through the tribulation period. And I believe that there will be judgment. So I believe that, yes, this world will end, but it will end on the time scale that the Bible provides. It won't end by some little thing like an asteroid hitting us, which is not really a little thing if you think about it. But I'm not afraid of that. I don't worry about that because I'm a believer. I believe what the Bible says, and the Bible says that we are going to end a certain way. And until that happens, we don't have to worry about it. Now, will there be diseases that'll come along and kill a bunch of people? Yeah. Will there be wars that kill a whole bunch of people? Yeah. There's very few days where there hasn't been war going on somewhere in the world. Since the beginning of recorded history, there's maybe 1 or 2 days where there hasn't been a war somewhere. We're always at war. At some point, some country is at war with some other country all the time. It's crazy to think about. And the funny thing is, with the rise of the internet, we have been able to communicate and get to know people from other countries. Now, most of my life growing up, our enemy was Russia. Russia was the big bad bear, and they were trying to kill us all the time. They were our mortal enemy. That's what we were told. But with the internet, now you can actually talk to people in Russia if you choose to. And I grew up all over the world. I grew up military, and we traveled to bases all over the world. I've been all over the place. And I can tell you from my personal experience that the majority of people in the world are just like us. They don't want to go to war. Just because Russia was our enemy, the Russian people didn't want to fight us. No more than we wanted to fight them. They're just worried about their kids having a better life than they have. They want to be able to put food on their table and to be able to make their children happy and to be able to have something in life. And that's the way the majority of countries in the world are. Now, you have some that aren't. You have some countries that are kind of nuts that like to blow themselves up and kill other people. They're kind of jerks. You know what I mean? They want to hurt people all the time. You do have that. But the majority of civilized countries, their people, their population, has a whole lot in common with us, really. It's not the people that want to fight each other. It's the idiots that are running the governments that want to fight each other. I've said before that I think that if one country has a problem with another country, instead of going to war and having their citizens fight each other and kill each other, when they don't really want to, they don't have nothing against those people, you should have the leadership go and fight the other leadership. They're the ones that want the damn war so bad. They're the ones profiting after it, so let them do it. And leave us the hell alone. That's just my opinion on it. Now, I'm all for going to war if it's necessary, if it's to protect ourselves or to protect somebody else. But the sad and difficult truth of the matter is that the majority of war is BS, man. The reasoning for it, if you really think about it, makes no sense. And it's not a good reason to go to war. It's so that people will profit because you make a lot of money selling bombs and tanks and guns and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's what it all boils down to, is a lot of profit. And that's a sad thing to say, but unfortunately I think that's a true thing to say. So do I think that you need to be worried about a zombie apocalypse or an asteroid hitting or any of those things that we talked about tonight happening in 2021? I would say the odds are they probably won't happen. They'll happen at some point, but the odds of it happening this year, probably not that great. Now, what I think will probably happen this year is you're going to have a lot of turmoil. You're going to have a lot of crazy things happening with the government. I think that's going to be an issue. I think there's going to be a lot of uprising by the people. I think there's going to be a lot of problems there on both sides. I think you probably will have famine because a lot of people shut a lot of things down last year, and not a lot of stuff got produced. So you're going to have an issue there. Will it be super, super bad where it wipes out a ton of people? I doubt it. I think the most likely thing is that 2021 is going to suck. 2020 sucked and 2021 is going to suck. But I think it will get better. Things will balance themselves back out, and it will get better. So my advice to you for 2021 is start watching YouTube, start talking to people you know that have gardens and stuff like that, and learn how to do those things. Learn how to produce your own food, start growing your own food, and get it done. I mean, if you don't have a ton of land, that's okay. There's a lot of vegetables and stuff that you can grow in containers on your porch. So get it done so that you can feed your family. And just keep your faith in God and pray and try not to do anything stupid. Just make good decisions. That's my advice for everybody for 2021. But I don't think you have to worry about mass extinction this year. Now, I could be wrong. It could happen. But I think the odds of it happening are pretty slim. So with that being said, I'm going to throw it back over to Old Boy and get his final sum up and shout outs. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, brother. And I hope you guys enjoyed this about Nostradamus. It's one of my favorite predictors of all time. I've always liked him, but he has been wrong on a couple things. But let us know what you guys think in the comments and the show. Thank you guys for listening to us on Parax Radio, starting our 3rd year. Staring is going to be our 4th year. Happy New Year, guys. 2021, new year. Hopefully things get better. Thank you for following us. Subscribe on James Hersey's YouTube page. You guys know where to go. You want to listen to our old shows, just subscribe, or wait till we put the show on either Parax or YouTube. So you guys want any merchandise, I'll tell you where to go. Shirts, all that cool stuff, COVID masks, blankets. He'll tell you where to go, guys. So I hope everybody has a great night. Misfits, sugar ladies, monster hunters, demon lovers, I love you. And blessed be, guys, and have a good night. We love you.
The YouTube channel is youtube.com/James Hershey Jr. That's where all of the episodes of Staring go. That's where all of the episodes of our TV show Tales from the Abyss are. I do a show called Paranormal News where I cover all kinds of different cool stuff from the news that has to do with the paranormal and just weird stuff. That's on the YouTube channel as well. I have started doing a new series of videos. The CIA just declassified their entire library of UFO documents. So I'm starting a new series on the channel where I'm going through all of those documents. I have them all. I went and I downloaded every single one of them. So I'm going through each one of them on the episode and reading them to you and talking a little bit about what it says and what it means. So I think that's going to be a real fun series to do. It's going to be long because there's like 2.2 million pages that got released. It's over 700 and some separate documents. So it's going to take a while to get through the whole series, but I've already started. I've got one done that I haven't uploaded yet that I'm going to be uploading probably tomorrow. So that should be really interesting. So check that out. The merchandise store is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. That's where all of the merch is. There's shirts, there's posters, there's hoodies, there's just all kinds of different stuff. Coffee mugs, etc. There's all kinds of stuff there. There's multiple different designs. We're coming out with new stuff every day, just about new designs, new cool merch. So if you like the show and you want to support the show, that is a great way to do so. Once again, that site is teespring.com/stores/staring into the abyss. Just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with us and for listening to the show. Thank all the people on ParaX for tuning in. And I want to say a special thank you to the audience on YouTube that not only watches Staring, but checks out all the other videos and stuff I do as well. I appreciate you guys. We've had a little bit of a rough go on YouTube because we did some shows that the people at YouTube did not particularly care much for because it talked about things that they didn't want talked about. And so we kind of got shadow banned on YouTube a little bit to where they weren't sending our show out anymore to the subscribers. And they like took a bunch of subscribers from us. It was really nuts. It's starting to get better. So I just want to say a special thank you to all you people that are on the YouTube channel that have stuck around, and a thank you to the people that got unsubscribed and realized they weren't seeing us anymore and went and resubscribed. YouTube took subscribers away from the channel. I don't particularly care for the fact that they can do that. That kind of sucks, but they did it. And I had a lot of people that would message me and say, hey man, why am I not subscribed to your channel anymore? Did you kick me off? And I just want to assure everybody, I haven't kicked anybody off. It's YouTube that does it. If you notice that you're not seeing the show come up in your subscriptions anymore, go to the channel and make sure you're still subscribed, because they will unsubscribe you sometimes when the YouTuber does something they don't like. So anyway, with that all being said, just want to thank you guys and tell you that I love you. And I'll catch you on the next episode. Until we speak to you again, love many, trust few, and do harm to none. God loves you, and so do we. Bye-bye.